Welcome to the final lesson of length. So our learning intention is we are learning about measurement, and today's success criteria is to be able to use your place value knowledge to convert between millimetres, centimetres, metres and kilometres. So let's do a little bit of prior learning. You should only really be watching this lesson if you have done lesson 1 and 2, which I've put links on the timetable for and are also on my YouTube channel, just because you might get a bit confused if you don't watch the first two. So, given that you've watched the first two, let's do a bit of prior learning. So I want you to think about what could you measure that would be measured in millimetres. So pause this video just now and think of as many things in say 20 seconds that you can think of you could measure in millimetres. So I thought of a fingernail, grains like grains of rice, and a ladybird. Maybe you thought of some of the same or some other ones. So when we measure anything in millimetres, they're really small things, okay? Because millimetres is the smallest unit of measurement in length. What about centimetres? Pause this video now and think of as many things as you would measure in centimetres. So I thought of the length of your arm, a pet, a t-shirt. Again, you may have thought of similar things or other things. So centimetres you would use to measure still quite small items, but much bigger than the items you would use for millimetres. What about metres? So I thought of the length of a door, the length of a table, and the length of a track on a play park. So things we measure in metres are much bigger. We should still be able to see them though. So you should be able to see the length of you should be able to see the whole item or object, but they are much bigger. And lastly, kilometres. What would be measured in kilometres? Pause this video now. So you may measure the distance from one street to another. If you're in a car, for example, you might have a sat-nav and that will tell you how many kilometres, or it may be in miles, but we're just going to focus on kilometres today, that distance would be. Or, for example, this morning I went for a run and we can measure that in kilometres as well. So this is a much bigger distance and you wouldn't be able to see the entire distance that you're measuring because it is much bigger. So let's just do a little recap of using a ruler to start us thinking about converting from centimetres to millimetres and from millimetres to centimetres. So the two that I've got circled there are in centimetres, but we also, the little lines in between we know are millimetres, and that's represented as mm, and then we've got centimetres. The first circle shows 1 centimetre, and you can see that there are 10 little lines up to that, which means that 1 centimetre is 10 millimetres. So 2 centimetres is 20 millimetres. And so if we wanted, if it was where I've got that arrow pointed, it's 5 centimetres, then there's 2 little ones, so 5.2 centimetres or 52 millimetres. So this is to remind us that 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. 1 metre equals 100 centimetres and 1 kilometre equals 1,000 metres. So we can convert the units of measurement with this knowledge. So let's start with converting centimetres to millimetres. So if we have, I'm going to start with converting centimetres into millimetres. So when we do that, we need to times the centimetres by 10. So here is a ruler. We know that 1 centimetre equals 10 millimetres. So to find how many millimetres a length of something is, we need to times the centimetres by 10. So this ruler is 15 centimetres. So to find out how many millimetres that is, we do 15 times 10, which equals 150 millimeters. Now I'm going to show you, I'll do a little recap. We did a lesson on timesing by multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1000 a few weeks back. If you want to refresh on that, because it will help you, go to my YouTube video on that. But I'm going to do a little recap of that in a moment. But if we look at this ruler, we can see the 15 centimetres. And yes, if we wanted to see how long that is in millimetres, we times that by 10 because there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre. So that would mean that the ruler is 150 millimetres long. So if we counted all those lines that you can see there, there would be 150. So we can say that ruler is 15 centimetres long, or we could say it's 150 millimetres long. So, I measured my arm and it is 45 centimetres. How many millimetres would this be? Well, I'm just going to come out of my PowerPoint to show you on my whiteboard. Oh, hold on. Now, bear with me, there may be some glitches in this because when I screen record, I can't stop it. So I'm just going to hope for the best. Right, so here is our place value chart. Now, we know, the circle of ones we know that equals ones, we know that equals tens, we know that equals hundreds, we know that equals thousands, and some of you have worked with tens of thousands. So that's our place value. So if I had the number 2,560, we know there's 0 ones, there's 6 tens, there's 5 hundreds, and there's 2 thousands. Okay? So I'm going to rub that out. Now, what we're learning today, however, is the value of everything before the ones, okay? So we have what is called a decimal point there. So any number after the ones, you need to have a decimal point first, okay? So let's say I had 2. So we have 2 and then a decimal point and then let's just put 5, okay, 2.5. Now that T there stands for tenths, okay, so we have tens but we have tenths after the decimal point. Then here we have hundredths. So you'll notice there's a ths at the end, okay? So these are the values of the digits after the decimal point. Now let's put that into the context of measurement. You may measure something that is 2.5 centimetres, okay? That's why we need to have that place value after the ones, because some things have a unit of measurement that is less than 1. Okay, 2.5, it's the same as 2.5. Okay, you might have to be really precise. You might say something is 2.51. Okay, so that would mean there's 2 ones. We've got a decimal point, 5 tenths, and 1 hundredth. Okay, so I'm just going to rub that out just now. Let's go back to our question. Okay, we'll go back to our question. So it was, my arm is 45 centimetres. How many millimetres is this? So let's first of all put in our 45. Okay, so there would be our 45 and there's no value of tenths and no values of hundreds. So 45.00, okay? You don't have to put the 00, I'm just showing you that that there would be no value of tenths or hundreds in that because it's 45. So remember, to find, if we go back to our PowerPoint, to convert from centimetres to millimetres, we need to multiply by 10. And when we multiply by 10, everything moves one place to the left. Okay? So that means that the 4 is going to move to the hundreds, the 5 is going to move to the tens, and then we'll put a 0 because there's now no ones. So the answer would be 450 millimetres. So 45 centimetres is the same as 450 millimetres. So you could say your arm is 45 centimetres or 450 millimetres. Okay, it's just two different units of measurement. You're more likely to say it's 45 centimetres, okay, but it's getting you to understand how they relate to each other. So let's do another one. My t-shirt is 60 centimetres. How many millimetres is this? So again, to find out how many centimetres the millimetres are, we need to multiply by 10. When we multiply by 10, we move each digit one place to the left. So we had 60, I'll write it smaller. Why does it do that? We have 65 centimetres, okay? So each digit's going to move one place to the left, like that. So that will then become 650 millimetres. So that means that 65 centimetres equals 650 millimetres. So if we go back to our PowerPoint, oh sorry, it was 60. You'd forget it. Okay, so that means 6 times 10 is 600 centimetres. Okay, 600 millimetres. I made a mistake there. 600 millimetres. So 60 centimetres times 10 is 600 millimetres. So what happens if we convert millimetres to centimetres? So remember this ruler, if we want to say it in millimetres, is 150 millimetres. So in 1 millimetre, there's 0.1 centimetres. Very, very little, okay, because a millimetre is so small. So to find centimetres, we divide the millimetres by 10, which means that we do 150 millimetres divided by 10, so we know that it's 15 centimetres. So we're doing the opposite this time. So if we're wanting to convert from millimetres to centimetres, we divide 150 millimetres by 10, which gets us 15 centimetres. Because if we go back to our little chart here, to go from centimetres to millimetres, we multiply by 10. To go from millimetres to centimetres, we divide by 10. So let's put this into practice. This ladybird is 10 millimetres. How many centimetres is this? Now this is where we need to use our decimal point. Okay, so that's not going to let me delete it, is it? There we go. So to recap, our ladybird is 10 millimetres. So we have 10 millimetres, okay? Now, when we're converting millimetres to centimetres, we need to divide by 10. If we're dividing by 10, each digit moves one place to the right this time. So that means that the 0 ones becomes 0 tenths and the 1 tens becomes 1 1. So 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. Okay, because we divided it by 10. So if I measure my nail and it's 2 millimeters, how many centimeters is that? So we'll do that again. So 2 millimeters. And remember, when we're dividing by 10 to get the centimeters, each one moves one place to the left. So that means that 2 that was a 1 is going to be 2 tenths. So you must be thinking, well, what on earth goes in the ones? A 0. So 2 millimeters. Don't know why it keeps doing that. 2 millimeters. It's my new pen, it's not liking it today. 2 millimeters equals, sorry, it's frozen. Oh, right. 2 millimeters divided by 10 equals 0.2 centimeters. Okay, so to recap, let's just go back to our chart. When we're converting from centimeters to millimeters, we multiply by 10, which means every digit moves one place to the left. When we're converting centimeters to millimeters, we divide by 10, which means every digit moves one place to the right. So our next part is to convert meters to centimeters. So if we're converting 1 meter to a centimeter, we multiply by 100 this time. And we're converting centimeters to meters, we divide by 100. Let me explain why. This is a meter stick. Now, obviously, this is a picture of it, so it's not going to be a meter long. But if you think about the meter sticks we have in class, on that meter stick, there is 100 centimeters. Okay, so per meter is 100 centimeters, which means that to find a meter, we times the centimeters by 100. So this meter stick is obviously a meter long. You can see there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So to find how many centimeters there are, you multiply by 100. So let's have a look. Here is a table. Now my table is 1.4 meters long. So how many centimeters is this? Well, if we go back to my whiteboard, hoping that it's working. Okay. Ooh. So the table is 1.4 meters long. So I can put in here 1.4 meters. Now, to find the centimeters, I need to multiply by 100. So if I'm multiplying by 100, remember, each digit moves 2 places to the left. So the ones become hundreds, and the tenths become tens. So that would mean that it is 140 centimeters. So 1.4 meters equals 140 centimetres. And to get that, we just multiplied by 100. Let's look at this door then. My door is 2.5 metres long. How many centimetres is this? So again, rub this out. I must have the memory of a fish. Every time I go to flip between them, I forget how long it is. 2.5 metres. It's been a long day, everyone. Right, 2.5 metres. So again, each one is going to move 2 places in the place value. So 2.5 times 100 is 250. So 2.5 millimetres. Oh, I don't know why it does that. 2.5 millimetres equals 200 and it's not happy today. 250 centimetres. So this makes my handwriting on this even harder than it already is. Okay, so 2.5 millimetres is the same as 250 centimetres. And to get that, we simply multiplied 2.5 by 100. So if we're converting the other way around from metres to centimetres, remember we divide by 100. So if my table is 140 centimetres long, how many metres is this? So this time we are dividing by 100. So remember, we divide by 100, we move 2 places to the right. $140. So 140. And this time each one is moving 2 places to the right. So that means that it is 1.4 metres. So 140 centimetres is the same as 1.4 metres. And we got that by dividing by 100. My cat is 49 centimetres. Sadly, I don't have a cat, but I wish I did. And if it was, I think it would be about 49 centimetres. How many metres is this? So again, let's use our charts. Now you don't have to use this chart if you totally understand what's happening. So 49 centimetres. If we're dividing by 100, they move 2 places to the right. So the 4 goes here. And the 9 goes here. Now you're probably thinking, well, what goes here? Well, there's none now, so it's 0.49. So 49 centimetres is the same as 0, I'll rub that out. The same as 0.49 millimetres. 49 centimetres is the same point as 0.49 metres. So if you think about a metre stick, it would almost be half the length of that metre stick. Okay, so your task is to complete this measurement conversion sheet. Now, I have put at the top the table to help you with the place value of that, but if you understand multiplying by and dividing by 10 and 100, then you don't need to use that, but it's there to help you understand. Now, simply all you need to do is we look at 1a. What is 10 centimetres is the same as how many millimetres? We look at 2a, 3 metres is the same as how many centimetres? And 3ABC and 4ABC are chilly challenges because they use decimals, okay, which I did go over, but if you're finding that a bit too much to understand, then just leave the chilly challenge and just focus on questions 1 and 2. And a little fun game to finish off is the find the picture challenge. It's a little plenary, so you need to match the meters to the centimetres. Both of those links are on the timetable and in the Teams folder. Let me know how you get on with this, and if you do need any further help, please ask, because I know this is a newer concept to you, and I'm not sure how much you'll remember from Primary 3. So please feel free to ask if you don't understand. Thank you.